In this lesson, we're going to review how to use factoring and the ZPP to solve a quadratic equation. Now, factoring and the ZPP uses two big principles. First, the ZPP, remember that just stands for the zero product property. And the zero product property says if we have multiplication, if two factors are being multiplied, or really any number of factors are being multiplied and their product is zero, then that must mean that any of the factors can be zero or must be zero. All right, secondly, the big idea about factoring is that factoring turns addition into multiplication, into a product. And once we have that product, then we can use the zero product property. All right, we're going to work through just two examples. The first example is 3x squared minus x minus 2 is equal to 0. So I notice that this side is already set equal to 0. So if I can turn the left side of the equation into multiplication, if I can factor it, then I can use the ZPP. All right, to factor, I'm looking for two numbers whose product is the same as the product of A times C, -6, and whose sum is the same as B, -1. All right, those two numbers are -3 and +2. And I can use those two numbers to split my middle term. And it doesn't matter which order. I'll go 3x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 2 is equal to 0. Now I have a quadratic that has 4 terms, so I can factor by grouping. The GCF of my first pair is 3x, and I'm left with x minus 1. My GCF of the second group is 2, and I'm also left with x minus 1. And that is means the factoring by grouping works because I have this GCF of x minus 1 that I can factor out, and I'm left with 3x plus 2. Great. So that first step, by being able to factor, I now have a product. And because I have a product, I can use the ZPP because I know 3x plus 2 must equal 0, or x minus 1 must equal 0. That's the only way I can get a product of 0. All right, I have two little subproblems now. For the first one, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides and then divide by 3 to get -2/3. For the second one, I just have to add 1 to both sides, and I have two possible solutions to this equation, two values that will make this equation true, -2/3 or 1. All right, let's look at the second example. For this example, I notice that neither side of my equation is set equal to 0, is 0 yet, and it needs to be 0 for me to use the zero product property. So I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides, and I'll have 15x squared minus 5x is equal to 0. A great first step whenever we're trying to factor is factor out the GCF. And in this case, our GCF is 5x. So we have 5x, and then a 3x minus 1 is equal to 0. Notice this product actually has three factors, 5, x, and the quantity 3x minus 1. So if any of those factors, if any of those factors is 0, the product will be 0. Now notice this one, 5 equals 0, that's kind of ridiculous, that's impossible. So we don't even worry about that one. We already have, okay, if x is equal to 0, great, it will be true. Or if 3x minus 1 is equal to 0, I'm going to add 1 to both sides and then divide by 3, 1/3. All right, so this equation is true if x is equal to 0 or x is equal to 1/3. All right, so I hope this video has helped refresh your understanding of how to use factoring and the ZPP to solve quadratic equations.